How can a simulator with so much good content and so much potential feel like it's not quite where it should be yet? Let's talk about Automobilista 2. While I have done a few videos with Automobilista 2, I've never really spent that much time with it. I'm not sure why. I'll be honest, I completely forgot I even had it installed until Steam started downloading a small update for AMS2 a couple of weeks ago. Somehow, I completely missed old 1990s GT1 cars coming into the game, which very much piqued my interest and ultimately led to me wanting to make this video. Real quick before we get started, if the YouTube comment section doesn't quite tickle your fancy, you can always come chat with me live over on my Twitch channel where I do a bunch of community events and races, mostly on ACC, but chat and I have a great time. Right, chat? I'd love to see you over there. At the time of recording, AMS2 has an impressive 107 vehicles and 39 tracks with 110 different track layouts. I say vehicles instead of cars because there's actually more than just cars in the sim. Alongside some impressive open-wheel formula cars, we get a few go-kart options, a superkart, as well as 3 racing semi-trucks. Yes, semi-trucks. Boy, are they thick. With all of this variety, I think it's fair to say that this is a sim that aims to be a one-stop shop, if you will. And to be honest, while it has a massive variety in content, it actually does pull that off fairly decently. Some cars feel better and more detailed than others, of course, but that seems to be the case with sims with this much content. Though, I have noticed that the sweet spot for AMS2 is with cars that are pretty quick and have a little bit of downforce. The GT4s don't feel quite right to me, and the GT3s and stock car V8s are closer and more enjoyable, but again, don't feel quite right. The P2s and GT1s are by far my favorite categories right now, although pretty much any of the open wheel cars are fantastic. One thing that AMS2 definitely does really well in my opinion is its force feedback. It's no R Factor 2 or ACC, but I'd say it's pretty solid, having experienced it on a Thrustmaster TMX and an Accuforce V2 direct drive wheel. I do tend to notice a bit of vagueness at lower speeds, which gets a bit exaggerated when the car starts to randomly grip up again as you add more steering lock, but at medium and higher speeds, the force feedback tells you all you need to know to be able to get around the track without sending some poor soul at turn 1 to Mars as part of the NASA space program. Arguably, the most divisive thing about Automobilista 2 is its physics. Now, if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know by now that I actually haven't driven anything faster than a stock Scion TC, and I've never even seen a racing car in person. So, I literally have zero clue on how physics are supposed to feel. However, I am pretty confident when I say, I don't think AMS2's physics are quite right. Not that it's not fun, but in terms of pure realism. AMS2 is getting very frequent updates, which is fantastic, and a lot of these updates feature physics and tire model updates, so my opinion on this will probably change as time goes on. But as of right now, I do think there's still a little bit to go in order for AMS2 to truly feel like it has proper simulator physics. Most cars feel very light and floaty, specifically at low speeds, and there tends to be a lot of grip that kind of comes out of nowhere at these slower speeds, which I alluded to earlier. To me, that slow speed grip is most noticeable in the F3, GT3, and GT1 cars, but it can be found more or less in most cars, except the semi-trucks. They're too massive to turn. Now here's where I pull a bit of an Uno reverse card. Despite AMS2's physics being a bit wonky and much more different than usual to most sims, I still have a lot of fun while driving in the sim. It may not be the most realistic, but in general, it's a really positive experience. With AMS2 being a bit more forgiving than your usual sim, I'd say the sim could be a potential winner for someone wanting to dip their toes into sim racing for the first time, and it's definitely a winner for someone who likes to just hop on for a couple of hours. I've been really trying hard not to continue beating the ever-loving crap out of the barely recognizable dead horse, but I have to mention Project Cars 2 at least once in this video. I feel like I have to because AMS2 uses the same engine that Project Cars 2 does, and in doing so, there are quite a lot of similarities between the two. The first of which ties into physics. Remember when I mentioned cars in AMS2 feeling fairly light and floaty? That was a signature trait of Project Cars 2. This is a pattern that repeats itself in many other aspects of AMS2. A lot of what Ryzen has done is taken what is great in Project Cars 2 and improved upon it. I think what makes AMS2 so divisive among sim racing fans is that it's so reminiscent of Project Cars 2 instead of the original Automobilista. Now, much like Project Cars 2, AMS2 has a fantastic multiplayer system. While the multiplayer is lacking in population, it is so easy to find a server, whether you're sorting by the amount of players, track, server name, or car class. It's also a breeze to create your own server. You know, Kunos and ACC could take some notes from AMS2 here. While it is a bit sad that AMS2 could be classified as having a dead multiplayer, there are plans to integrate a website called simracing.gp to help boost the online presence. I've had some experience with the website for ACC races, and I quite like the experience. I'm really looking forward to when the site's out of beta. I really only have one complaint about Automobilista 2. While the actual driving experience is pretty great, the AI are actually fantastic, and the in-game UIs are really intuitive, the sim just still feels unpolished. There's a lot of bugs in replay cameras, AI-controlled cars in pit lanes and rolling starts, and go-karts still only have one working brake. I understand Ryzen needed to get the sim released in order to start bringing revenue back into their studio after working on it for so long, but I truly feel like AMS2 just got released too early. Has it been improved since its full release? Absolutely. And that gives me a lot of hope for the future of AMS2. Do I think Automobilista 2 is worth it? Yeah, I do. I think it appeals most to the casual, hop on for a couple hours of driving crowd of sim racing, rather than the competition and league-focused crowd. If AMS2 was a sentient being, I think it would speak in a generally calming voice that reassures you, letting you know, don't worry, let's just have some fun. Am I equating AMS2 to a sentient robot Morgan Freeman? I guess. That's it for this video, fellas, and I'd love to know your thoughts on whether you think AMS2 is worth it or not. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. You can also always come into my Twitch chat and we can have a live discussion about it there too. I'd also very much appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and liked the video. It really does help me out. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.